Xbox on.
Game on, baby! Wow!
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to the Party Chat Podcast, the official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit. And with me this week, I've got, as per usual, my partner in crime. It's Clay Parker.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. And one of the Xbox One subreddit moderators, it is Richard. How we doing?
Hey guys, how's everyone going?
Now this is a very, very special episode. We do have a rare treat for you. So Richard, I'm going to pass it across to you to introduce our special guest for this week.
A rare treat. Very rare treat. Well, this week I actually am able to bring to you guys a few people from Rare themselves, and especially after E3, we got a lot of information to talk about. For this interview, we have Emma Bridle, the social media manager for Rare. Say hi, Emma.
Oh, hi. Sorry. I'm off
No
to a
worries.
great start. There we go.
No worries. And Bobby Lemerand, which is the engagement manager as well.
Hello, thanks for having me on, guys.
We are very excited to have you guys on. I mean, just after E3 this week was a very exciting week, and I want you each to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Rare. So, Emma, go ahead and jump off and go ahead.
Ladies first, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been at Rare for 3 years now. 3 years next month, actually. And I came to Rare straight out of doing a journalism master's, and they were looking for someone to help run their social channels and engage with the community. And I'd played Rare games growing up, and I thought I was going to be a small-town journalist. Saw the job advert and thought, you know what, I've never thought that would be fun, working in games. And they hired me for an initial 6-month contract, and I've never left, so they've been stuck with me. So for the past 3 years, if any of you have tweeted Rare or posted on our Facebook page, it's most likely been me that's been responding with Lee Loveday, Rare veteran. And so I tend to the community. I'm sort of getting the news out there to them and also feeding back what they want to us. So sort of the voice of the company online, I guess.
Awesome.
Great
Nice.
fun.
And next we actually have Bobby. So, Bobby, go ahead and explain who you are and what you do.
Yeah, no problem. So I've been at Rare for just over a year now, I think about 15 months. Was previously at Xbox, working on the Xbox Ambassadors program. My title is Engagement Manager, but what that means is I pretty much get to obsess about Rare fans and how we kind of talk to Rare fans. So I work with the community team. But a lot of what I get to do is actually I spend time in almost kind of like a secretive layer, kind of thinking about how can we engage with our community, what can we do, like how are we going to build forums for Sea of Thieves, how are we going to run contests. And when I say a layer, I mean I just kind of sit in the office kind of next to Emma and the
We
rest of
could
the
build
team.
you a lair, maybe.
I have always wanted a layer, and I think a Rare layer would be especially cool. So that's a lot of what I do. So thinking about things like our, emails that we have, the social campaigns that we run, our website and the features that are on there, all kind of within my domain in Rare.
And it's worth pointing out we're not a 2-person team. I think we're at 7 people now.
Oh, wow.
Just over a year ago, it was 2 of us. So we've grown a lot in the last year and a bit. And
Yeah.
we're in a really good place. We've got a really good team.
Yeah, I think we've got some devious plans to take over first the company and then the world.
Yeah.
One project and Rare fan at a time.
What are we doing tonight, Bobby?
The same thing we do every night, a community podcast as part of our plot to take over the world.
There we go.
We'll be in one car at a time.
No,
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, go for it. Sorry.
No, go on. Keep on talking.
I was just going to say Emma's joke there, just a reference to
Oh, yeah, sorry.
the statement earlier that basically the whole point of doing podcasts is just to be in people's cars, right? With them as they drive, yeah.
So
Well, I
just
have a
to
long commute. I need the company.
So just before we recorded, Emma said that she's heard my voice all this week in her car.
Yeah.
Which I found quite surprising. It's not something that gets said to me every day. But I can just point out, Emma's car is amazing. It even displays the logo of the podcast from a picture that she tweeted out on her car dashboard. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Back
I've got to
the-
say as well, fantastic accent. Even as a Brit, I really, really, really like the accent.
Oh, thank you. Now back onto the questions. Can I just
Yeah.
ask, what's it like being a Microsoft studio? Do you all have like conversations about what you're working on and share tips, etc.?
I think I can speak in terms of we talk to the other community teams working on other titles, particularly the team over in Redmond. I know you spoke to Josh Stein a few weeks ago, and he's one of the people that we're in touch with.
Steam, isn't it?
Is it Steen, Bobby? Is it Steen or Stein?
No, it's Stein.
No, it's
Oh
it's
my
Stein.
gosh.
Come on, you gotta make
It's a
it
reference.
right. Yeah, do that.
Yes!
Give him a shout out, and I'm getting his name wrong.
It's a reference to Clay, let's just say.
No, I have listened to it. So I think community management and sort of social media is still quite a new thing. I have a lot of people telling me it's not a real job, and there's still sort of figuring out best practices and what could we be doing better, how can we reach more people. And I think having other teams doing the same thing to talk to and sort of share information and what we're working on and how we're doing it is really, really helpful, and it really sort of, it's nice to hear what other people are up to with their titles.
I'd say sometimes it's kind of like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like Emma said, I think you kind of share best practices, and a great example is the Microsoft Studios team has been doing some really awesome stuff with Twitch and video. As you've seen from our trailer this week, we've got some thoughts around Twitch and video and picture stuff ourselves. And so talking to them about that kind of stuff is always really interesting, and it's great to share knowledge. But at the other hand, a show like E3 is great because you might have an inkling of what some studios are working on. But other times you do kind of get to be surprised. And that's kind of fun is having an idea, but also still being able to be surprised by some things that you see at shows, reveals, and kind of being able to see people and talk to them around these times and tell them good job and actually kind of have all that unveiled for you as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were sort of assuming that I knew everything that was going to be going out in the briefing on Monday, and I kept saying no, I probably think I know a lot less than you think I do, and it's really nice to be surprised.
Yeah, always just coming off. This is our first recording just after E3, and first of all, apologies to listeners that were a couple of days late. It's solely because of E3, and we wanted to make sure that we had a good guest for you this week, of course. But
right.
just to say to yourselves, congratulations on
Thank you.
Microsoft E3
Thank you.
briefing. It was simply amazing. What has been that reaction?
Yeah, it's been really tremendous so far. I mean, I think all of us have been incredibly busy this week just trying to keep up with everybody who's been talking to us, right? Talking to the studio, talking to us directly on our Sea of Thieves channels. It's been overwhelming, and it's nice as well seeing stuff come in and seeing Sea of Thieves mentioned not just by itself, but alongside the other games, right? And seeing the excitement for the other titles that were mentioned, Scalebound, Forza, seeing lots of mentions of We Happy Few.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting, I think, kind of being part of that, right? And part of the excitement and everything being together in this 1 week.
Yeah, definitely. We've had people reaching out and saying you were my favorite thing of E3, or you're at the top of our list, and I keep responding to people and saying thank you so much. That's a real compliment, because we were in really great company. There's so many fantastic things that were being shown on Monday and throughout the show, and so it's a really nice compliment to hear that. And it's insanely busy.
I bet. Now, before we actually get into the Sea of Thieves conversation, everything that was shown at E3, I really just want to talk more about Rare and one of its most recent, of course, releases, Rare Replay. And we know that Rare Replay, one of my favorites, getting to play all my old classics and being able to play last year, I mean, all of the games that led up to this. I mean, how has the feedback been from the gaming community on Rare? I mean, again, myself, I was excited to play the game. I couldn't wait to have all of that collection and be able to go through the games. Just kind of, what have you heard?
I think last year's E3, I was quite nervous going into it, because we were going to be saying, we're celebrating 30 years and we're releasing this collection and we're bringing back all these fantastic titles and revealing Sea of Thieves and saying, and here's what we're doing next. And, working on Rare's social channels, a lot of stuff I get is we want to see more of our old APs. There's so much love for everything that we've been doing for the past 31 years now. And so to sort of unveil that we were sort of bringing a collection, and a lot of love went into it. It was a short project, really putting it together, but the people working on it loved the games. We were bringing them to people that have loved them, people that maybe were discovering them for the first time. I think some of my favorite comments were from people who were saying, I would sit down and play Jetpack, say, with my dad when I was little, when I was a boy, and my dad's no longer with me, but now I get to sit down and I get to play it with my son. And things like that were just really wonderful feedback, and nice to see some of the titles that maybe didn't get a lot of attention at the time getting a lot of love, like Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which looks absolutely fantastic in Rare Replay. People playing that for the first time who maybe didn't catch it the first time around and realizing what a fantastic game it is. And it was just a joy to be talking to the community and sort of seeing so much love coming in for Rare Replay. A really fantastic thing to be a part of.
Just what you're mentioning there, I had that exact same experience in that as a kid I used to play Digger T Rock.
Ah!
Like, I had an NES.
Nice.
I'm giving my age away here. But, and I put on Rare Replay, and my 5-year-old's like, Dad, what's that? And I put on Digger T Rock, and he found it amazing. And to view a game that I held so close to my heart as a child, to see him enjoy it and see it through his eyes, experiencing it, it was a real special moment for me. So thanks to everyone at Rare for providing me with that.
We love hearing stuff like that.
Thanks to you for being a Digger T Rock fan. I don't know if you remember this, Emma, but I remember last year before we announced the game, we were talking about, what are the titles that we're really going to care about? And there were a couple people that were like, Digger T Rock, like, where are our Digger T Rock fans at? So I'm glad that we found you, our signature Digger T Rock fan, who was really pleased for that title to come back and replay.
Our lead designer, Paul Collins, it's his favorite. He was pushing for it. He loves it, so he'll love hearing that.
I was gonna say, I was wondering how did you guys end up deciding on what games were going to be included in that?
It was tough. I mean, Bobby and I weren't part of the decision-making process. I sat with the Rare Replay team for pretty much the entirety of the project, right from the early stages, and it was tough. I mean, Rare's been around for 31 years now. There were, I think, more than 100 titles that we sort of looked at. It was tough. I think they looked at games that sort of created their own worlds, that were really popular, that had something special about them. At one point they developed a scorecard system. They had them posted all over the wall, and I can't remember how long it took, but I mean, it was tough. But I think we ended up with a really good selection in there.
Which of the games are your personal favourites since I've given you mine?
Boy, I'd say for me, the things that I went back to first, I think Perfect Dark was the thing that I played first, revisited Conquer shortly after that, and then I just kind of actually went back into the back catalog, stuff like Cobra Triangle, which I'd never played before, or Snake Rattle and Roll, which I'd never played before either, and that's where I actually found myself spending most of the time, was kind of discovering games that I hadn't played, right, because I had grown up more in that, Banjo, Conquer, Perfect Dark era than I had for those, and that for me was where I spent quite a lot of time with the game once it was out.
I'll admit I went straight for Viva Pinata when I brought my copy home. I don't know how many hours I've lost to that game. I'll get so far with a garden and then I'll start again because I've decided I don't like the way that I've laid it out and I want to go back to it. You never really finish that game, so I still haven't really gotten that far with it. But same as Bobby, when we were developing it, we would have play sessions on a Friday afternoon, I believe, and the design team would pick a game and they said, right, we want you all to play the game and we want you to feedback what you like about it. And it was the first time I was playing the Spectrum titles because I'm a little too young to have caught them the first time round. And Attic Attack and Gunfight I really loved. Really confusing because you get no tutorial, you get no sort of hand holding as you go in, you're just dropped in and everything moves so fast and it's so colourful, and I think the entire time I play them I end up screaming, I'm just going as I'm running around trying to figure out what's going on. But I loved that sort of fraught pace and trying to figure out what on earth was going on, and I love the horse in Gunfight, Panto the horse, I love that. So it was really nice to catch the titles that I wasn't around for.
Emma, I mean, you spoke of going back and kind of like Viva Pinata, it's a game that never ends. Me, growing up with these Rare titles, some games I didn't finish, and because they got too difficult for me when I was younger, so I kind of get frustrated and stuck at a level when I was really young. So it was really fun to go back and enjoy those games that I never fully completed just because it took too long to get through, or I just had issues in certain levels. But going through and finally finishing games or being able to revisit all of those things, my favorite, first thing I did is I went back and played Banjo-Kazooie. I loved Banjo from the beginning. It was it's one of my favorite games. Even when I did the theme for the subreddit, I wanted to make sure Banjo was right there, dead center, to make sure. It was just my personal preference. I love Banjo from the beginning, and to this day, I think I will go back and play it through again just to experience the story.
Well, can I just put in a quick thank you, by the way, for doing the subreddit theme, because that was absolutely incredible. Everyone at Rare loved it, and I know that I messaged you and told you that, but publicly, like, we loved it. It was absolutely fantastic, and thank you so much for doing that.
That means a lot to me, because I spent so many hours, because I basically took this theme under my belt and I said, I'm going to run with it. And everyone at this other mods, Mikey and Delicious Cheese Reese, was fully behind me and just said, take it, go do whatever you want with it and just run with it. And I did, and that's how it turned out.
It was awesome.
And just to pick up on something you said there, Richard, too. I mean, I think one of the things that was really amazing about, seeing the game come together and talking to people about it when it came out is just that, that there are not even just one game within this was the favorite game for some people, but that, people tell us Viva Pinata was my favorite game, Banjo was my favorite game, Perfect Dark was my favorite game. And I think it's just such a special collection that it's got so many favorites and so many kind of age or era defining games for people within it, that you heard people talking about games in a way that they don't always talk about them, right? With such fondness and such nostalgia and such love. It was just really a special thing.
Yeah, and people completing them years later. I'm still getting tweets now. I got one the other day going, I finally completed Banjo. It's taken me 12 years, but I've done it. And people are so happy, and I love seeing those.
So kind of continuing on Rare Replay, I know that they kind of kept the games exactly the same. I know it was tempting to maybe update the games or take out bugs, or let's say like Battletoads, one of the Wave Runner level, how difficult that was for people, and over and over and over again. I mean, I believe all the games were left in the original form, correct? There wasn't anything that was actually changed. I can't remember exactly.
Very little. We wanted people to have the games as they remembered them, sort of true to their time, to the way that they were released originally. There were a couple of tweaks, like we released a modern control scheme for Jet Force Gemini. I think actually we managed to get it out 2 or 3 days after the game launched, just to make things a little easier for the modern gamer. But ultimately we left them the way they were. We didn't want to touch them. We left them as they were.
Very cool. One thing that was, very popular feature from the game was the snapshots. How did you guys come up with that idea? I mean, it just seems like something that was a great add-on to that bundle.
Well, full credit to the design team. Unfortunately, again, I wasn't part of that. I helped to test them, but it was, I think, for people were going to get the collection, and it was not necessarily likely that they would know all the titles, and particularly the older titles they might not be familiar with. And the snapshots were a great way of people just getting to dive in and just play a little snippet of the game to just sort of get what it's about, get familiar with how the game worked, and quickly achieve something, and you get that wonderful feeling when you complete a snapshot and you're just like, yes, I've done it. And just sort of like little snippets of the older titles, and I thought it was a really nice way of doing that. There were a lot of things that we added in, like the rewind feature, the cheats, just to sort of add these modern touches to the classics and get people into them.
Emma, do you think for the snapshots it's fair to give a shout out to Paul in particular on that?
Yes, Paul. Yeah, Paul and Chris.
So yeah, I think Paul would be, we'd be remiss if we didn't try and give him some sort of social promotion, because he's always giving us a hard time for cutting him out of
Oh yeah, forgetting to include him in tweets.
Yeah, so at TruePolsky on Twitter, if you'd like to ask somebody from the team about snapshots. I mean, I know that he had a lot of love and a lot of thoughts for those. He's a very kind of stats and data and metagame orientated guy. Loves that kind of stuff, and I'll say he's working on Sea of Thieves now, and so kind of cool to say that the brain that had a lot of love and a lot of thoughts for the snapshots and kind of the stat games within Rare Replay is now working on Sea of Thieves, and kind of bringing that kind of thinking to different elements of the game, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
Let me just say, you brought up the additional features like the rewind, specifically for the Battletoads Wave Runner part of that game.
But
Rewind
Tunnel,
was
maybe, yeah, it was helpful.
I will say I did use it once or twice
There's
or 20
no shame
times.
in that. That's what it's there for. Yeah, I think it meant people got past Turbo Tunnel finally after never having done it originally, and then they're going, "Oh God, there's still the rest of the game." But yeah, I use it all the time whenever I'm playing.
Now, with the success of Rare Replay, what would be your dream developer retro collection? And I mean, let's open this up. Any developer.
I'm not sure I have a good answer. Bobby, do you have something in mind?
Retro developer. You know, it's I don't know if you can consider it retro because it's a bit more recent, but something I've been thinking about a lot recently as I've been playing some Overwatch is I've been thinking a lot about Time Splitters and how much I would love to see Time Splitters kind of make a return and come back, even if it was just a single remaster. That's something I would definitely pick up and jump right back into the multiplayer of.
Superb. Emma, what would be your choice?
Oh, again, I'm not sure I'm thinking of a developer. I'm trying to think of the games that I played as a kid in the 90s that I would sink so much time into. And it's really sad, but something like Roller Coaster Tycoon, like those games where you would, like Sim City, where you would be building things. I've not got into Minecraft, sort of in the modern era, but I loved those games and I would sink so much time into them. I remember shouting at the little theme park visit the guests when I was playing Roller Coaster Tycoon for going off the paths and things, and I know that's not a very cool answer, but I used to love those games. I sunk so much time into those.
It's a hard answer to say because, I mean, all of your games that you want to say are already included in the Rare Replay bundle, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shameful plug by me.
Leave Emma alone. She likes putting salt on people's chips so that they drink more juice.
All right, so now we're going to get on to the main part of this interview, the main focus, Sea of Thieves. So this E3, some gameplay was shown off, and we want to know as much as possible as we can. I know there might be some things that we can't touch on. So very beginning, from the development stages for Sea of Thieves, what were maybe some of the inspirations for Sea of Thieves, previous games or projects? Is there anything that you might want to be able to expand on, just how it came about, the idea of it?
Well, one thing I'll say is that, and you will have heard some of the team talking about this in the press that's come out of E3 this week, is that, you know, from the very get-go, before Sea of Thieves was Sea of Thieves, the team was focused on doing something kind of different. And I think they were really focused on putting together a game that would bring small groups of players together for common objectives. And they were really kind of focused on what can we do that's unique within a cooperative space and what can we do that's unique within a social space. So you kind of had that ambition from the outset. I think if you layer that on top of Rare's history with pirates and its love for pirates and the fact that you've got Greg Mayles, who has basically been sneaking bits of pirate lore and fantasy into every game he's been working on for the last 27 years. You know, it was just kind of a combination. And I believe that they went through a few different ideas of what they could do. And when they kind of held pirates and the world of pirates up, it made a ton of sense. And that's kind of where the game was born.
Joe was talking about it recently, and I think I'm trying to remember the quote. He said something like, "We wanted players to work together to create stories, and what better vessel for that than a pirate ship?" I don't think he was intending to play on words like that, but I thought that was a really good way of putting it. And yeah, we've had pirates in our games for years, and who doesn't love pirates?
That's exactly right.
And I mean, we don't know much about the features of the arena and all that stuff, but I feel like that type of club environment would work perfectly for Sea of Thieves just in general, because we're getting people to be able to come in and play it. So that, I mean, I think that type of game fits perfectly into this whole getting people to play together, your list of friends or maybe some random people.
Absolutely. And I mean, just on that point, it's something you see in pirate films quite a bit, right? If you think of, you've got a crew and sometimes you've got somebody that shows up and is part of that crew for a time. Maybe they double cross the people that they've been sailing with and they go on for another adventure. And I think that's definitely like the kind of emergent and really unique social experience that the team is building with this game.
Great to hear. You know, it did seem like it was very team focused. I mean, are there going to be different roles or character classes that people can choose from in that?
The idea is that you can be the pirate that you want to be. I know we keep saying that, but that really encapsulates what we're doing. And so there's no roles. If you want to get on board the ship and you want to take the wheel, then you take the wheel. And if you want to be up in the crow's nest directing your crew, then you can do that. There's no set roles. You take the parts of the pirate life that you want to experience and you go and do those.
And I think one thing that's really cool is that when you do play for the first time, you kind of find yourself wandering about the ship and inspecting different things. Like we had that moment in the trailer where somebody kind of wandered into the captain's cabin and immediately said,
Right.
"Yep, this is mine. I want to be in here." Even though there's like nothing useful in the captain's cabin in that scene that he could really do to help other people in the ship. And I think that we've had some questions around, well, what if everybody wants to be the captain? What if everybody wants to be in the wheel? And I think the thing that you find is that if you see somebody on the wheel, you just naturally go to another spot on the ship and you start interacting with it. And people just kind of naturally fall into place. And just because one person's steering, I mean, that person might jump off and change the direction of the sails in the back of the ship to get a little bit more speed. And somebody else will just pop onto the wheel. And it's very fluid, organic, and dynamic. And it never really feels like you're fighting for one role on the ship.
And who says the person steering the ship is the captain? The captain could be in the crow's nest. The captain could be just walking around, keeping an eye on things. I'm no good at steering. I just, I can't steer. I keep steering into rocks.
That's very true. The captain's usually in the lower decks getting drunk by themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many hook hands can I have? I only have 2. So double hooked hands.
I would imagine that, if the pirate that you want to be has 2 hooked hands, there's no reason we should stop you from doing that, right?
Might make doing things on the ship a little difficult, but
That's right. Exactly. That's very exciting to hear, though. I mean, just the trailer that you guys displayed at E3 just looked like it was so much fun, especially just for getting all of your friends together. This is, the party chat here this podcast is all about just getting people together and having fun. And that seems right up the same alley here of just getting folks together and having fun with it.
yeah, you could see that in the gameplay trailer. Those guys had only met a day or two earlier, and we just chucked them in the game and just no instruction, just here you go, play. And just there's some fantastic moments coming out of that because it's just fun.
And I think there is something to that, right? I think there's a lot of focus on games being like very realistic or games being, kind of gritty. And I think the team has just had a lot of fun making the game. And I think that that's kind of the thing that they want, and one thing that we've heard a lot of people say is like, I laughed so much while I played. And, awesome. It's not something you normally hear about games, right? It's not normally a way that people rate the quality of the game is how much laughter they got out of it. But very much, I think it's important to us. And I think there's a sense of humor that comes from people kind of doing whatever they want to do. That's very much at the heart of Sea of Thieves.
And sense of humor is a big part of who Rare is. And that's coming through.
Now, one thing I just wanted to ask you is, can you randomly venture out and find new islands and treasures to explore?
So I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about the world in the future. But you have kind of asked about, I think, like the randomness of the gameplay or maybe what sets people's objectives. And I think that there is definitely an element of randomness in terms of what you decide to do and what happens along the way. And some of the things that we've seen with people playing this week and when we had fans in the studio a few weeks ago is we've heard people say things like, I'm just going to sail, and somebody says, where are you sailing to? They're like, the farthest island that I can get to. And very much like we want people just to be able to head straight out there. But oftentimes when you play, and we've done longer play sessions, is something happens you weren't expecting. You find something, a quest comes up, and it does get to be somewhat distracting, right? And the adventure that you set out on isn't necessarily the adventure that you pursue for the main place, and it's not always the place that you end up by the end of the game. So I think there is definitely an element of randomness and emergence again in the things that you're doing and the story you're experiencing while you're playing.
Everybody's story is going to be different. When we had the fans in, they were playing in individual booths, and they were coming out, and they'd been separated into different crews, and they were all just going, what did you do? Did you see this? Did you get to this island? Did you do this? Oh my gosh, let me tell you about something that I did that was really funny. I downed my grog and I fell off the boat. And they were all just sharing their stories, and that's exactly what we're going for, is everyone's going to do different things, and they're going to want to share what they've been up to.
So speaking of like the stage demo and what was shown, it's a great social experience. So, I mean, how much is that part of the game? Like, if I wanted to play by myself, am I able to play by myself somehow? Or do I kind of have to have a group, even if I'm like not friends with them? I mean, if I want to go solo, is that even possible?
Yeah, I think there's a couple answers here. So Mike Chapman, who's a lead designer on Sea of Thieves, he did an interview with The Verge this week where he interviewed this really well, and he was talking about some of the ambitions the design team has, right? Like looking at some smaller ships that are much easier to kind of sail by yourself. If you've looked at the ship that's in the demo, certainly it's feasible to sail that by yourself, but you're going to be kind of running back and forth between a lot of things. And what he called out in this is kind of what happens basically when you have a smaller ship is that you might have a smaller ship that you can pilot by yourself, but you're going to have fewer cannons. If you do take on damage, you're going to have to stop steering or you're going to have to stop shooting to be able to fix that damage, right? So there are some limitations I think that people will encounter. But again, if you consider yourself to be a lone wolf and you want to kind of go out and seek riches or try and sabotage others as a single vessel, I think that the goal of the design of the game is to absolutely let you to do that. In terms of your other question, in terms of like finding other people, like absolutely, Xbox Live has got some great matchmaking services in place that the team is looking into and looking to make use of. And we saw like another announcement this week at E3 with the looking for group system, which is really interesting to us, especially for this. And knowing that we want different kinds of players with different kinds of motivations to play the game in different ways, using something like looking for group for finding people who want to explore or people who want to go into combat or people who just want to get drunk and play instruments. Definitely trying to use those kind of Xbox Live features to allow people to find each other and have the social experiences they want to have if maybe their regular group of players aren't online.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I mean, one of the big draws that I think keeps me involved and focused on involved in your community, so to speak, is you guys do a lot of giveaways and have a lot of different contests. I mean, you guys just leading up to E3, you had a lot of T-shirt giveaways. You had this huge Play It First contest that you're running. Is there any chance that you'll be running more contests like this for our listeners here if they're interested?
Well, on the small scale, we do giveaways every single Wednesday on our social channels. So swag every week is up for grabs. We want to get these things in the hands of people who will appreciate them, who'll wear them with pride, and who'll enjoy them. In terms of the bigger contests, I'm sure Bobby can talk a bit about that.
Some more stuff from the community layer that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. So, well, I mean, now having seen our E3 trailer, you could probably understand at least some of the motivation for wanting to get some people into the studio as part of our Play It First contest, right? Like we were very keen to find people that were excited to play the game and who we knew might be happy to kind of be the first people seen by the rest of the world to be playing the game. So that said, I guess in terms of feedback and bringing people in and getting builds to them early, I think it's something that we're very interested in. And I think if you look at other studios that are doing, games that have kind of dynamic worlds and social content, if I think of Bungie with Destiny, or if I think of Massive with The Division, I think they're doing a great job of trying to get players into their studio to try things, give them feedback, and I think that's absolutely something that Rare wants to do going forward as well. Whether or not that will be through the form of a contest, I'm not quite sure, but we definitely have some ideas for some big contests and ways to get fans involved moving forward. The other thing I'll say on that as well is just, we've gotten to a point that I think everybody in the studio was really looking forward to. We've been able to show gameplay, and we've been able to hopefully better answer that question of what is Sea of Thieves and what kind of experience is it. And going forward, one of the values that's really important for not just the community team, but the entire studio is transparency, and really talking about more of the systems in the game and more of the experience in the long term. And I think if you follow our social channels, whether you're following Rare or you're following Sea of Thieves, you can expect to see a lot more information about the game, about the development team, and about the process that's going into building this game.
Hey, Emma, can I put in a request to you and your dev team, but specifically for your Twitter account? Can you ask them for some more GIF clips there that you can
Have I been overdoing it? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No. I'm slightly obsessed with Twitter and GIFs, so or GIFs, or however anybody else pronounces that. So
I'm Team GIF all the way. Yeah.
Oh, me
Team
too.
GIF, that's right.
I've been making all the ones that I've been tweeting out and just sort of going through our YouTube content's been great the past year, and just
yeah.
grabbing little bits of that, and just the past couple of days grabbing all the little clips from our gameplay trailer and often tweeting them back at the people who featured in it and sending them a gif of themselves, and they've been freaking out. But yeah, gifs all the way.
Now, outside of Rare, of course, what games were you most excited to see at this year's E3?
Most excited to see at this year's E3. So within the Xbox conference, I think the games that excited me the most, besides Sea of Thieves, of course, which I find very exciting, Forza really caught my eye, which is interesting because I'm not much of a racer. I'm actually pretty terrible, but I'm really looking forward to driving into some trees. Also, really, like I said earlier, I really like the look of We Happy Few. I think I'm going to probably be playing quite a lot of that. I thought the Death Stranding, Kojima's new game, looked just totally bizarre and really interesting. And having watched the EA conference, I'll probably, not probably, but we'll definitely be picking up Battlefield 1 once that comes out.
Bobby stole my answers. I was going to say, no, but Forza Horizon, like, I'm similar. I don't play racing games, but it came on, and we were all watching, the community team and some of the other people on our floor were all watching it together. And the minute the kangaroos came on, I was going, kangaroos? Well, I've never really wanted to play Forza before, but now I do. It just looked beautiful. And again, We Happy Few looked like the sort of game that I'd really like to play, but I'm going to have to be hiding my face behind a pillow at the scary parts. It was the pinata bit where it turned into a rat. I was watching at the corner of my eye. I'm a very jumpy person, and I think I yelled at that. It's one of these ones where I can see the concept is so great and there's going to be such a good story, but I might have to take a break every now and again and put Viva Pinata on to just, lift the mood a little bit. And I guess, I mean, I'm still catching up on E3. We've been full E3 all week. Something that wasn't a game necessarily, but the controller design lab that they announced. That's so cool, and unfortunately not in the UK yet, so I'm really jealous of the US.
Yeah, I know.
But that looks amazing. Yeah, it's the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, I think, at the moment.
Oh, wow.
So I was furiously trying to get on the site and I couldn't get through, but
let me know if you need me to smuggle one over to you.
Thank you. I might take you up on that.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, Emma's already mentioned that she is has got her journalism degree, so she'll be expecting this really tough journalist question from yourself. You have the pleasure of asking it.
Yes, it's a very, very hard question. We ask every single one of the people we interview, and it is, what classic video game character could you knock out in one punch? Now, just to give you a little bit of a backstory to this, Major Nelson said Frogger. Some of the Xbox support teams said the dog from Duck Hunt. And for me, my answer, I never got to say my answer. My answer, I think fits perfectly with this interview is Gruntilda from Banjo. At the very last level, made me so frustrated. No spoilers, but the last level, I was stuck at that for so long. I quit like 3 days. Like I'd play, couldn't get through it, quit. Play, get through it, quit. Finally got through it, but the one person I could knock out in one punch is Gruntilda. That is my pick.
So what is yours?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, I couldn't punch anyone. I am the most feeble person in the entire world. But I would go with the Guildmaster from Fable, the original Fable.
Good choice.
Your health is low. Do you have any potions or food? That drove me mental. You go, no, and screaming at the screen, doing, shut up, I'm trying to concentrate. Plus, being feeble, this sounds awful. He's, a little older than I am. Maybe I'd have a slight advantage, maybe.
That's a fight I want to see.
I mean, that's almost like Navi from Zelda going, hey, listen. I mean, this was so annoying. Would you like, hey, the potions, I understand. One, yeah.
Bobbit?
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I, because it's an important question. I didn't want to let you guys down. And I was originally thinking Sonic, but Emma's like, he's too fast. You probably couldn't hit him. I was gonna say Conquer. I was gonna say Conquer, right? But he's a squirrel. I'd have a hard time hitting a squirrel. So honestly, I'd think one of the grunts from Halo. Like if they didn't have any weapons, I reckon I could knock one of them out with one punch.
Not a bad one.
Yeah. I would like to see that as well, to be honest with you. That's
Like-
could be a new thing.
Rare
A grown
takes
man
video
IRL
characters.
punching a grunt. Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you all the best with Sea of Thieves and whatever Rare has to offer for the next 31 years.
Oh, thank you very much
I'm
for
not
having
calling
us.
it. That's all right. I'm not calling saying that the company's going to die in its 62nd birthday, by the way.
Okay, sure.
Well, likewise, thank you guys very much for having us on the show.
And thanks to everyone on the Xbox One subreddit. Which I'm checking in all the time, and we're all about community. You guys are a community, so we love you.
Before you guys go, if you guys want to give a shameless plug for your guys' Twitter account and where people can actually get a hold of you if they have any questions, like on the subreddit or on the Twitter, go ahead and let them know where they can reach out to you.
You can find us on Twitter at RareLTD and at Sea of Thieves. You can find us on Facebook. The URL, I believe, is facebook.com/Sea of Thieves game.
Yep.
And Rare on Facebook. And you can find Rare LTD on Instagram. And you can find us on YouTube. And reach out to us any of those places. And we love hearing from everyone.
And I guess the last thing I'd plug as well is there's actually a Sea of Thieves subreddit. So if you want a side portion of Sea of Thieves subreddit next to your Xbox One main helping, it's just Sea of Thieves, and we've seen a lot of growth after E3 is great. So I think we're creeping up on 1,000 subscribers in there.
Yeah. Oh, and we've just refreshed our Sea of Thieves website, seaofthieves.com. You can go on there. You can download a fan pack full of amazing wallpapers for all your devices and what beautiful, beautiful art. And we today just launched the official Sea of Thieves store. So if you want to show the world your love of Sea of Thieves, you can do so in t-shirt and hoodie form.
Woo! Nice.
So thanks to everyone for joining us, including even you, Clay.
Thank
But next week, the show returns to normal, where we're going to be talking about everything from E3 and give all our reactions, as well as catching up with the latest news from the subreddit. So for another week, Xbox on.
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
So for another week, I can't say that now. I can't say Xbox off.
No,
It's
now you have to say
Cortana?
Cortana, turn off the Xbox, please.
Yeah.
Hey, Cortana, turn off. That's
Uh-huh.
what you have to say now.
So for another week, hey Cortana, Xbox off. No.
Almost got it.
Hey, Cortana, can you grab me a beer?
So hey Cortana, Xbox off.
No. It's Hey Cortana. You can either say Hey Cortana, turn off, or you can say Hey Cortana, Xbox, turn off.
Well,
Why
you
did
know
you
what the beauty of this
overcomplicate it?
is? The beauty of this is now we have our
I out it. Yeah.
just say
And it's-
Xbox on.
No, for the first time ever, it's me.
It's not out. It's not unveiled to everyone yet.
Oh.
So not till this summer.